Hey everybody, for this month's update, I want to share a simple story. So in the month of August, I had the opportunity to preach at a church that is like most churches across the United States. It was in Virginia, called Zoar Baptist Church. Zoar is well established, around for 200 years in the community, probably 300 people, and that's the makeup of lots of churches around the country. So I preached for 4 weekends there, launching Grace Bomb, introducing Grace Bomb to the congregation. And when I was there, about halfway through that series, I had popped into the local hardware store, which is literally a stone's throw away from the Zoar church building. And there's this young girl who was the cashier and also took me back to an aisle to help find a tool I was looking for. And she had a small cross tattoo behind her ear. And I thought, hey, this is a cool conversation starter. So I said, oh, I like your cross. What's up with that? And she said, well, this is a symbol for me that when nobody else is listening, that God still hears me. And I thought, oh man, that's cool. So I gave her some props on her tattoo. And then as I was checking out a few minutes later, I said, hey, so do you have a crew of believers that you roll with, or are you repping Jesus solo? Like just trying to gauge where she's at in her walk. Just in a conversational way. And she said, well, she had mentioned some church people that she didn't really like, and that she was repping Jesus solo. So I thought it was just a natural next step since I was preaching and we're in the Grace Bomb series just to invite her to come to church. I was like, hey, I'm preaching at Zoar right there. And she looked at me and she said, where? I said, Zoar Baptist Church right there. Like maybe she just misheard me. And she said, Zoar Baptist Church, with this inquisitive look on her face. Now, this is a small town, a really small town, no stoplights. Zoar is like the biggest structure and one that she has to drive by every single day on her way to work. She says, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. And I made reference. I said, the big old place right there and got hit by a tornado and 10 years ago and they rebuilt it and it's established in 1808 or something like that. She's like, yeah, nope, never heard of it. And man, did that stick with me. That really got up in there. And she ended up not coming to church, but I feel like that interaction between me and her was really for me. And that stuck with me. And on the last weekend of preaching at Zoar, how I ended the series was telling this story. And I told this story, not to guilt or shame, but to encourage them not to be the church that lets that kind of thing go down on their watch. And that's so true for all of us in all of our churches, that there are men and women and boys and girls, believers with cross tattoos repping Jesus solo, who would perhaps love to be a part of a fellowship or a community, or even non-believers with different kind of tattoos who don't know that Jesus is the way and the truth and the life. And we can't be the generation that lets them know that the church around them does not exist. Because Zoar Baptist Church is not the brick and mortar, it's the people. And so she has not engaged the people of the church. And so my simple request as we're picking up steam and heading into the fall, as our team right here, is that collectively we would up our prayer game for the movement and the ministry of Grace Bomb. That we would not let that kind of thing go down on our watch. And you know what? It might actually start with the girl with the cross tattoos in our own life. Maybe our prayer life first has to affect our inner world as things get busy and crazy and back to school and sports and trying to work in church and all of those things. Perhaps our prayer life first needs to affect our hearts with our neighbors, but then certainly we can lift up every person who's ever heard of Grace Bomb, who is Grace Bomb Cards, who's trying to build a habit, that they would now be so enthralled and in love with Jesus that they would take those slowing down moments with their neighbors that need to know that the church is right there and for them and with them. So would you join me in that prayer? Please, and thank you so much for locking arms with us to bring this new habit into the world so that we can change our world together. Okay, guys, so there's other updates and things to come, trips next month that I'll be sharing about, but for now, I'm going to leave you with that. The girl with the cross neck tattoo.